Man testing a bulletproof vest, 1923.
A volunteer bravely stood while his vest was shot at point-blank range.
This dangerous test helped prove early body armor could actually work.
Eiffel Tower under construction, 1888. Before it became a symbol of Paris, the Eiffel Tower was just a skeletal steel frame. Locals even protested its ugly appearance during construction. Woman using a gas-resistant stroller, 1938.
Mothers once placed their babies in bizarre strollers designed to resist chemical attacks. They looked more like science fiction pods than childcare gear. Statue of Liberty arriving in New York, 1885.
The Statue of Liberty was shipped in over 200 crates across the Atlantic Ocean. It had to be reassembled piece by piece on Liberty Island.
Ice delivery before refrigerators, 1,910 seconds. Before home refrigerators, massive blocks of ice were delivered to households daily.
Families stored them in insulated ice boxes to keep food fresh. Worker balancing on the Golden Gate Bridge, 1937. High above the bay, a worker casually balanced on a steel beam without safety gear. Many risked their lives to build the iconic bridge. Original Mickey Mouse Club meeting, 1,930 seconds. Disney's first fan clubs were small gatherings of children in local theaters. Nobody then imagined Mickey would become a global phenomenon.
London milkman during the Blitz, 1940. Even as bombs devastated the city, one milkman continued his daily deliveries. His determination symbolized British resilience under fire.
Salvador Dali walking an anteater, 1969. The eccentric artist shocked Paris by walking an anteater on a leash. It was one of his many bizarre stunts that fascinated the public.
Hindenburg before disaster, 1937.
Just hours before its fiery end, the Hindenburg looked like the future of travel.
The tragedy ended the dream of passenger airships forever. Portable hairdryer, 1,920 seconds. This massive machine blasted warm air onto women sitting under its hood.
It was the ancestor of today's compact blow dryers.
Prisoners exercising with giant wheels, 1,920 seconds, UK.
British inmates were once forced to march on giant treadwheels for hours. The grueling exercise was intended as punishment, not fitness.
Baby cages on apartment windows, 1,930 seconds. Parents hung wire cages outside their windows to give babies fresh air. Today it looks reckless, but at the time it was considered modern childcare. Horse wearing a gas mask, World War I.
Even animals were issued gas masks to survive chemical warfare.
Horses were essential for moving supplies and troops at the front. Nuclear test viewed from LA's Vegas, 1,950 seconds. Tourists in LA's Vegas once gathered to watch mushroom clouds from nearby tests.
Shockingly, atomic explosions were treated as entertainment. Car shaped like a giant shoe, 1,920 seconds. This unusual vehicle was created as a marketing stunt for a shoe company. Rolling down city streets, it was impossible to miss. Charlie Chaplin lookalike contest, 1915.
Dozens of men entered competitions pretending to be Charlie Chaplin.
Ironically, Chaplin himself once entered and only placed third.
People covering faces during the Dust Bowl, 1,930 seconds. Dust storms were so intense people wrapped themselves in cloth just to breathe.
Entire towns were buried under choking waves of dirt. Elvis Presley drafted into the army, 1958. The king of rock and roll was drafted and served in Germany as a soldier.
His service showed even celebrities weren't exempt from duty.
First mobile phone, 1973.
Weighing nearly a kilogram, the first mobile phone lasted only 30 minutes per charge.
It cost thousands of dollars and looked like a brick. Testing helmets with baseball bats, 1912. Safety gear was once tested by striking volunteers with heavy bats.
It was crude, but it proved helmets could save lives. Times Square after VJ Day, 1945.
The celebration of Japan's surrender left Times Square buried in paper and trash. The cleanup was as historic as the party itself.
Nikola Tesla with his cause, 1899.
Tesla calmly sat reading notes while massive sparks leapt around him.
The photo captured both his genius and fearlessness with electricity.
First 3D glasses in cinemas, 1,950 seconds.
Audiences packed theaters wearing early red and blue 3D glasses.
To them, the technology felt like peeking into the future.
Dog trained to parachute, World War II. Military dogs were even trained to jump from planes with soldiers. These brave animals carried supplies and messages in battle.
Giant lumberjacks balancing on logs, 1,900 seconds.
Loggers performed dangerous balancing acts on floating timber in rivers.
One wrong move could mean being crushed or drowned.
The original Ronald McDonald, 1963.
The first Ronald McDonald costume was awkward and unsettling. It was quickly redesigned into the friendly clown we know today. Mount Rushmore under construction, 1,930 seconds. The famous faces were once just rough outlines blasted into rock. Workers dangled from ropes to carve the granite by hand. Workers painting the Brooklyn Bridge, 1914.
Men dangled high above the water painting steel beams without harnesses.
Safety standards were almost non-existent at the time. First flight attendants, 1,930 seconds. Early stewardesses were trained nurses who cared for passengers. They had strict rules on age, weight, and appearance. Coal miners covered in soot, 1,920 seconds. After long shifts underground, miners emerged completely black with coal dust. Many would suffer lifelong lung problems from the work.
Antarctic explorers with their sled dogs, 1911. Early polar expeditions relied on loyal dog teams to pull supplies. Both men and animals endured brutal freezing conditions together.
First McDonald's restaurant, 1948.
The original McDonald's had a simple red and white design.
Few imagined it would grow into a global fast food empire.
Ice harvesting from a frozen lake, 1,900 seconds. Before refrigeration, workers stored massive blocks of ice from lakes in winter.
These blocks were stored in insulated houses to last through summer.
Students practicing typing class, 1,920 seconds. Typing was once taught as a specialized skill in schools.
Rows of students learned on heavy manual typewriters. Circus elephants being unloaded from trains, 1,910 seconds.
Traveling circuses transported elephants by rail across the country.
Crowds often gathered just to watch the animals arrive. Testing a new diving suit, 1911. An experimental suit made divers look like walking robots.
Though bulky, it allowed them to explore deeper than before. Children in Ireland during polio epidemic, 1,950 seconds.
Rows of children lay in giant machines that kept them breathing.
These devices were life-saving before the polio vaccine was available.
Soldiers wearing pigeon backpacks, World War I. Messenger pigeons were carried in special packs on soldiers' backs.
They often delivered critical messages when radios failed. Man selling mummies in Egypt, 1,800 seconds. Tourists once bought ancient mummies as souvenirs. Some were even unwrapped at parties for entertainment. Women painting World War II bomber planes, 1,940 seconds. Female workers decorated warplanes with nose art and names.
They were part of the vital workforce, keeping factories running. Testing of early football helmets, 1,910 seconds. Athletes wore thin leather caps for protection. Compared to modern gear, they offered little safety at all. Great Molasses Flood in Boston, 1919.
A massive storage tank burst, flooding streets with sticky molasses.
The wave killed 21 people and destroyed buildings.
Human alarm clocks called knocker-uppers, 1,900 seconds, UK.
Workers walked the streets tapping on windows to wake clients. This was long before reliable alarm clocks became common. First Disneyland opening day, 1955.
Crowds packed the park despite extreme heat and broken rides. The chaotic first day nearly doomed the project. Newspaper boys in New York, 1,900 seconds.
Children worked long hours shouting headlines on busy streets. Many were underpaid and often skipped school to survive. Testing parachutes on the Eiffel Tower, 1912. Inventors jumped from the tower with experimental parachutes. Not all tests ended safely, but they paved the way for modern designs. Underground train during World War II bombing, 1,940 seconds. London. Families sheltered in subway stations during nightly air raids.
These tunnels became both refuge and community spaces. Smallpox vaccination lines, 1,940 seconds. Mass campaigns line people up for life-saving vaccines. These efforts helped eradicate smallpox worldwide. The first photo of Earth from space, 1946. A camera strapped to a V-2 rocket snapped Earth's curve from above. For the first time, humanity saw its planet from space.